Stop confusing August praise with a finished product. This roster is showing real strength, but Foxborough is also staring at 4 demands that cannot be kicked down the road. Patriots Nation, listen closely. A rookie arrived late and already has coaches talking about his violence. The best cornerback on the team has run out of patience. An overlooked running back is demanding respect. And Mike Vrabel had to stop a game to remind his defense who they are supposed to be. Hit that like button and subscribe, because today we are separating the players raising the standard from the people who still have to answer for it. Gabe Jacas missed OTAs, minicamp, and much of the preparation that normally helps a rookie survive his first NFL training camp. A contract dispute delayed his arrival, leaving him only 3 weeks in New England. Even so, outside linebackers coach Mike Smith already sounds like a man who found someone difficult to bury on the bench. Smith described Akis as big, athletic, passionate about football, and meaner than a wet mule. He did not compare the kid to Jason Taylor or Lawrence Taylor, because irresponsible comparisons develop nobody. His actual point was more interesting. With that body, mentality, and willingness to work, it will be very hard for Akis to fail. That is not a promise of stardom. It is a coach recognizing habits that sustain talent after the August excitement fades. Those habits appear to be there. Smith says Akis studies non-stop, lives in the playbook, and carries himself like a 45-year-old veteran in a rookie's body. Defensive coordinator Zach Kuhr added the word that matters most for an edge defender: violence. Akis must build his fundamentals, clean up his technique, and learn to handle NFL offensive linemen while absorbing the system. But he embraces the work, plays with force, and improves every week. Now the pressure hits. Harold Landry still is not practicing, and the Patriots could open the season with Draymond Jones and Elijah Ponder on the edges. In that scenario, Akis will not be some protected project at the bottom of the rotation. He could enter the year as the top backup. New England traded up to take him in the second round because it saw exactly this potential. But need cannot become an excuse to rush a young player without preparing him. I love the fire. I love hearing 2 different coaches praise the work nobody notices when the cameras are hunting for the highlight. But the standard here is not winning the press conference with a tough quote. It is turning study into faster reads, strength into gap control, and violence into disciplined pressure. Akis is swimming upstream, and so far, he is not asking for a life jacket. If this continues, Landry's absence might stop being only a problem and become the opportunity that accelerates the arrival of a special defender. But Patriots Nation, this is where things get really interesting. Christian Gonzalez finally dropped the comfortable language and said he is frustrated. Honestly, it was time. The 24-year-old cornerback practices whenever his ankle allows, says his focus is week 1, and still answers daily for why an extension discussed all offseason remains unsigned. Gonzalez did not create a scene, attack the organization, or threaten to walk away. Asked whether he felt optimistic, he said his focus was week 1 and summed up the stalemate with a tired, "It is what it is." That does not sound peaceful. It sounds like a player who handed the matter to his representatives and saved his energy for football. Meanwhile, Elliot Wolf says New England wants Gonzalez, calls him elite, and reports momentum in the talks. Ryan Cowden keeps the negotiation where it belongs and refuses to feed trade speculation. Robert Kraft has publicly said the Patriots want to make Gonzalez the highest-paid player in franchise history. Every message points toward him staying, but messages do not cover a number 1 receiver on 3rd down. Gonzalez does. Devin Witherspoon, another member of the 2023 draft class, already landed his lucrative contract. Gonzalez enters interview after interview with this issue attached to his ankle. Asked whether the club had held up its side when discussing the negotiations publicly, he paused before saying he did not know. Then he put the bill on the table without raising his voice. The front office knows how he feels, and his team has stated what he believes he is worth. I am not turning every silence into a threat of a breakup. Both sides have made it difficult to imagine Gonzalez wearing another uniform this season, but I refuse to let fans dismiss an all-pros frustration as entitlement. New England spent years saying it wanted to identify, develop, and retain foundational players. It identified one. It developed him. Now comes the part requiring money and courage. Kraft's helicopter landing near the field during the interview almost wrote the metaphor itself. Gonzalez joked that he called the owner in. The humor lightened a few seconds. It did not finish the contract. With week 1 closing in, we are working on it, loses power daily. Does this team want to rebuild a feared defense? Then it cannot send its most valuable defender into the season carrying a bitter negotiation. My verdict is firm. Paying Gonzalez is not surrendering to pressure. It confirms the identity Vrabel is building. A corner who erases matchups, changes calls, frees safeties, protects the pass rush, and gives the coordinator freedom. The front office can negotiate structure, guarantees, and cash flow responsibly. It cannot pretend time has no consequences. The player has acted professionally for months. Now the organization must act decisively. If Gonzalez represents the investment New England still needs to close, Rhamondre Stevenson represents the value too many people ignore. Fewer than 20 seconds remain. The offense needs a touchdown from near the 15. Drake May drops the throw into the back left corner of the end zone. Stevenson tracks it over his shoulder, secures it with Robert Spillane tight in coverage, and gets down in bounds. Touchdown. That was not an isolated trick designed to juice up practice. Stevenson has repeatedly shown this receiving ability all summer and wants to carry it into the season. At 28, 6 feet, and 227 pounds, he does not fit the receiving back stereotype. Good. Football does not reward stereotypes. It rewards winning the matchup. Last season, Stevenson set career highs with 10.8 yards per reception and a 59.5% receiving success rate. On the ground, he led all running backs in rushing yards over expected per attempt at plus 1.4 and ranked third with 3.83 yards after contact per carry. Yet he received no honorable mention vote in ESPN's annual ranking by coaches, executives, and scouts. Travion Henderson did. Stevenson did not. So he laughed on social media about his 77 overall Madden rating, then deleted the post. I hope he holds on to that disrespect, not to chase hollow statistics, but to run like a man who is tired of being diminished. The offense trusts him for reasons beyond the ball in his hands. Stevenson has become one of the league's safest backs in pass protection, a job he estimates is 80% mental. Recognizing pressure, identifying the right man, and keeping May clean will not appear in viral rankings. It appears in the quarterback's trust and how much of the call sheet stays open. Past fumbling problems fueled the outside skepticism, but Stevenson finished the final 13 games last season without a fumble. Now he leads the backfield after holding that role throughout camp, and he calls this the healthiest summer of his career. Fresh legs, proactive work in the training room, and readiness for the opener. That is production paired with responsibility. Anyone reducing him to a power back is evaluating an outdated player. There is only one way to make all that talent matter. This defense has to play with the aggression its own head coach demands. During the first quarter against Philadelphia, Mike Vrabel saw a unit falling below the acceptable line, burned a timeout, and went to the sideline to get the frustration off his chest. He did not polish it up afterward. He said he had seen bad defense. For a team that wants to be physical, that interruption was not theater. It was a public correction of its identity. The warning came after the run defense struggled with the Eagles' running backs during the first joint practice. In the next session, the gaps closed faster, and the runners stopped breaking through the second level as easily. Christian Ellis explained the change without hiding behind the playbook. It was mentality. Instead of guessing or slow playing the rep, a defender has to put his face mask on somebody and play off that contact. That response matters because the unit lost Khyiris Tonga to Kansas City. The 320-pound nose tackle helped a defense that finished last season in the NFL's top 5 in several categories against the run, allowing the second fewest rushing touchdowns and the fourth fewest yards. Now Corey Durden and the rotational pieces have to support Milton Williams and Christian Barmore so the standard does not collapse. Del Pettis agreed with Vrabel's criticism and called the moment another challenge the players had to accept. Ellis sees the coach's playing experience spreading through the roster with energy, effort, and a clear understanding of what needs to improve. That matters, but nobody earns lasting credit for responding well in a second practice. The test arrives when an opposing offense runs at the same gap again and demands that same violence for 4 quarters. The war room is open in the comments, and the critics get no cover. Which defender should personify that physical identity when the season begins? Do not choose the biggest name. Choose the player you trust to deny 1 yard when everybody in the stadium knows the run is coming. Vrabel is drawing a line. Technique without aggression becomes hesitation. Aggression without responsibility becomes a penalty and an abandoned gap. His defense has to marry the two, and that timeout showed he will not wait until Monday's meeting to demand it. In Foxborough, the right response is not getting offended by the chewing out. It is making the opponent feel why it happened. The Patriots do not need more applause in advance. They need Akis turning violence into dependable snaps, Gonzalez receiving the commitment reserved for an All-Pro, Stevenson turning disrespect into complete production, and the defense answering Vrabel's demand for physical football. That is the thread running through today. Talent changes a season only when responsibility rises to meet it. If you want to see New England answer with force, subscribe right now. Patriots Nation, tell me what you think. When Week 1 is over, which of these 4 stories will have made the biggest impact on the direction of New England's season?